Hey everyone, Dr. Chesrob is here. So this is the part 4 of the Sicilian video series. Today we will talk about the Smith-Morra Gambit. Let's try to understand what Agent Smith prepared for us. Are you ready for the video? I am, but I have some preparations beforehand. Now I'm fully ready. Let's see what's going on. E4, C5, and then suddenly D4. Don't be surprised by this move. The main idea is to open the center as soon as possible. C takes D4, and then white is going to play the move pawn to C3. Queen takes D4, knight C6 will be discussed in the next chapters. You will see that this is absolutely fine for black because white will spend some moves bringing the queen down. So they will play the move C3. The main idea is to clear the center from the pawns, open the files, develop the pieces as fast as possible from white side, and then create a very dynamic, aggressive attacking game against them. That's what Agent Smith is trying to do. He's trying to write the code only for his purposes. Just remember one important hint that can be both strategical and dynamic, especially in the opening part. If you will get more open position when the diagonals and files are open, so the development and the activity of the pieces can become much more valuable than one of the sacred treasures in chess, the material. In this position, back to the Sicilian, in this position we have three interesting ways, I would say like three pills that we can use. One is the move knight f6, which I call anti-Alapin pill. And the main idea is to try to get into the Alapin setup. If white captures with the queen, they don't have a center, they didn't open anything, the queen is going to be under attack, we will have the fast development, not white. If white captures with the pawn, they don't take the center because we'll just grab the pawn for free. There's no compensation because he lost a very important pawn. That's why white's best move is pawn to e5. Just to remind you, after bishop d3 takes, this position is much more passive than the usual Smith-Morra, so black is absolutely fine here. And after e5, we play knight d5. We'll get the Alapin. We'll check it in the section of the Alapin video chart to understand how to do the counter Alapin after the move c3. Just to remind you, it's e4, c5, and immediate c3. This is the Alapin. So d4 captures pawn c3. As I said, white wants to play extremely aggressive and bring all of the pieces out, open the files, open the diagonals, and start some attack in the center and also some positions on the king side. The second way, d3. You're like, I don't care. I'm going to deny it. I'm going to ignore it. Where's my popcorn? Where are my movies? I'm going to be like a Deadpool. I'm going to go for my plan, my own adventure in my own terms, like Luffy of One Piece. You just want the peace, comfort, and have some fun. And you don't want to get out of your path. You're like, I'm going to play my dragon. I don't care about anything. And you will do this. Bishop d3, knight c6, or pawn d6. If you want to play Scheveningen, Najdorf, like e6, bishop to e7, castles, knight d7, knight c6 is an interesting option as well. So we have, we call it a small center because the pawns are not on the fifth rank, but we defend lots of central squares. The position is pretty fun to play. The other way is knight c6, and then after knight f3, pawn to g6. The idea is to fianchetto the bishop. The bishop on g7 is going to be quite strong. And then play knight f6. Immediate d6 is absolutely fine. But in some positions, we want to push d5 to open the center and maybe get the initiative if white is going to play passive. White plays e5. This can be very dangerous for us. But here we have knight g4, triple attack. He has only one defender. He's not in time to defend the pawn with two other pieces because he has only one move. So rook e1, pawn d6, just to prevent d5. h3, trapping the g4 square, so the knight or the bishop will not get there. In some positions, we do knight g4, knight e5, short castle. The game is about equal. Sometimes white does the move c4. This is so-called Morozzi bind setup. Again, we will talk about it later in the next videos. You will see what's going to happen. The main idea is to take as many squares in the center, control as many as possible. White advanced, they have more space. So we're going to do g6. And if knight e2, bishop g7, short castle d6, our usual dragon, knight f6, short castle. Even if he plays f4, we're not scared. We just develop our pieces. Rook is going to go to c8. In some positions, knight b4. In some, knight a5. There are rare scenarios when we will push e5 or do e6, d5. But this is more the middle game part. We were trying to understand the main opening setups for now. If normal, knight f3, bishop g7, short castle, d6, we have, our stuff. Again, bishop goes to g4, h3, knight f6, short knight c3, short castle, it's equal. It's playable position at least. So this is the first way of the main idea. The counter Albin I mentioned already, so you can say I'm gonna play it, or maybe you don't like those positions. This is gonna be our blue pill. So the next one where you're like, okay, I don't want to be Luffy. I'm gonna try to rewrite the entire code and beat my opponent in its own game because you think like you're Neo and you watch the Matrix lots of times. So you're a fan of the movie. I'm a big fan of it. So D takes C3. But first, I want you to understand the danger of the position, to understand where the game is going. What's the main plan for white? Why it's risky to play in such way. Why I recommend lots of students, players to go with the move d3 or knight f6. Sure, you can do it too. I played this line lots of times, but it's very double-edged. Knight c3. White opened the game. Open the DNC file, open the A2 and GA diagonals so they can use the bishop to come to C4 and eventually attack the F7 pawn. Knight is out, the queen is out. It's going to be very fast development for white and lots of risks. Knight C6, knight F3. And if you don't know what to do here, you don't know any setup, you can just use your intuition, do your normal moves, and you can lose the game quite fast. This is what Agent Smith is waiting for. So after the move, pawn d6, e6, to develop our pieces, knight f6, seems everything is good. And then, lots of times the Sicilian players will try to create a good counterplay on the queen side. It's a usual stuff in the Sicilian. So our normal like life instead of the queen side, king side development. So a6. But after bishop d4, bishop f4, you'll realize that this is not the classic Sicilian anymore. Something is off. White is developed too much. They have 4 minor pieces in the game. The rooks are coming now. The king is completely safe. Our king is not in a good position because it's still in the center. It's a bit stuck. And it can be like a boxing match when your opponent, he will start to hit really, really hard and you will not have time to evade it, and you can start to have some damage on your face. You're going to be very, very careful. I don't like this position anymore. For example, if we play e5, bishop g5 is going to get a great outpost. Full compensation for the lost pawn. What this pawn will do in the middle game? Nothing. So, because it's not an endgame part, we're not going to push the pawn and have a queen. In the middle game positions, the extra pawn, again, sometimes the extra pawn is not important at all. If we play b5 and still ignore his central game, after rook d1, we'll understand what's going on. We will dislike our position more and more. We will see that he wants to push the pawn to e5 and open up the d file because the pawn is pinned. For example, bishop e7, e5. We can't capture it with the pawn, lose the queen. We can take with the knight because after knight takes or bishop takes, again, we will lose a piece. So knight d7, he takes d6. Bishop f6. Now white can sacrifice on e6 or play this beautiful move knight d5 and then knight goes to c7. Remember, if your opponent infiltrates this much into your position, something is wrong. So he found the cracks in your defense. He could infiltrate, he could penetrate, and eventually bring that virus and created huge chaos, big problems in your position. And now we have like a big inflammation on our end. It's hard to understand what we're gonna do with the pawn on d6. So if we play queen c7 to avoid it, white has two options: pawn e5, immediately opening the game. It's really strong. Or rook c1 with the idea to play knight to d5, this fantastic move, which is very common for the Smith-Morra. This is like the pinnacle as a position for white. Look, everybody is in the game. The king is saved. The position is opened, and then sudden sacrifice, knight d5, captures, and short castle d takes c6. If we take with the bishop, then knight d4, we lost it. If we go back with the bishop on c8, if you will compare the positions, it's like me drawing something, and I will compare it with, let's say, Salvador Dali's art or Picasso's or Van Gogh. Just, I'm horrible in that. So this is how I will describe both positions against each other. Like, look at the queens, look at the rooks, pawn structure, the pieces. It's annoying. Just resign. I'm kidding. Of course, play until the end, but there's no need for you to get such a position from the beginning. That's why d6 is dangerous. And here I will recommend you to try the move pawn e6. I think this is the only normal way to stop his plans. First, we will stop this annoying knight, and we will cover the diagonal from the bishop, and then we'll do the move pawn a6. So he will not play any knight b5 stuff, because our next move is knight e7. If we don't do that, we do immediate knight e7, there is a chance for him to play bishop f4, knight b5, knight d6, or knight c7, or immediate knight b5, and then this knight can jump to d6. There can be issues. So a6, to prevent it, short castle and knight e7. Let's understand what's going to happen with knight f6, because again, white is going to play e5, bishop to f4, the knight will eventually jump to d6, and also white has a very cool, like, simple calm move h3. Is going to crush our chances on the king side. Knight h6, bishop h6 takes, knight e4, queen d2. Yeah, we have an extra pawn. Who cares? Like, you have, $100, but you can't use it. Who cares? So it's like that. We have this extra pawn. Oh, but look at our position. Look at this bishop on c8. It's just a piece of art. Yeah, the position is not good for us, for sure. After d6, the same story. White will develop, and then bring the rooks, open up the game, do this knight d5 sacrifice, or push pawn e5. Position is not good for us. That's why knight e7. The main idea is to try to bring the knight to g6 and then control these two squares and then only develop. You'll see the difference. The most important thing is it's going to be much harder for white to do the move e5. For example, rook e1, knight g6. If e5, we can play f6 or just bishop e7 or pawn d6 or d5. It's going to be fine for us. If he goes bishop e3, d6, queen e2, bishop e7, you can say, like, what changed? Our knight was on f6 there. Here our knight is on g6. The difference is actually massive, because after rook d1, short castle, he can't do the move e5, and we can just breathe easily. We did our development of the king side. Then we will try to see if we can be in time to do bishop, bring the bishop to b7 to that fianchetto square, bring the rook out, the queen star position is going to be completely fine. So if e5 doesn't work, knight d5 doesn't work, then we're good, because those two are the most important plans that we need to prevent. If we prevented it, then congratulations. So we prevented Agent Smith's plans. But white can insist to create some chaos, play bishop g5, pin our knight, after which we can do either this, it's risky, because we will open up our king side, or play the move pawn to f6, and after bishop h4, b5, bishop b3, bishop b7, some development, and then here knight g6. White will lose tons of moves, bringing the bishop to the g3 square, like 1, 2, 3. And we have several options. Bishop e7. I like the move knight a5. The main idea is to get this b3 bishop out, because in some positions, the knight can be sacrificed, and then d6 is played. This bishop will prevent us from short castling, or we actually castle, then there can be some annoying discovered attack by pushing the pawn. Just imagine if the king is already on g8. Let's say we do, for example, rook d1 short castle, knight d5 takes, and then not knight a5 or even knight a5, just d6 check, and then after the capture, d takes e7. Some damage can be done to our position. It's gonna work or not, that's another thing. In some games it will work, in some it's not. We need to be careful. We need to be very careful about this bishop too. So knight a5, bishop c2, bishop e7. e5 is not that strong. Knight d5 is not going to work. We will do short castle next. Rook goes to c8. Knight goes to c4. And I think we are fine. Let's summarize. Let's see again what's going on. So instead of the Alapin, d4 takes c3. White wants to sacrifice, play extremely aggressive, open up the center, open the diagonals, and eventually do that e5 or knight d5. We have three options. Counter Albin pill. Interesting. After e5, knight d5. We will discuss it later. Queen after c3, pawn d3. Carefree, denial, Deadpool, Luffy. You know, eating popcorn, watching a movie, and just playing neither for the dragon. You don't care. Or you will try to rewrite the code yourself in the position that your opponent wants to go to. Again, being Neo from the Matrix, saying that I'm capable of changing everything in the future, playing the move d takes c3. But again, the danger is that the files are being opened, and one more time, this position where the knight will jump to the d5 or pawn e5 can be played. That was the danger. This is why we will do the move e6 to prevent the knight to get out, a6, and then knight e7 with the plan to do knight g6. This is it. I'm going to stop now. You understood the setups, analyze some stuff with the stockfish. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please send me some of your cool Sicilian games. It can be the wing gambit, the normal Sicilian, slow wing gambit, or delayed wing gambit, Smith-Morra, close Sicilian. So we will try to later work with it. I want to analyze some of those and just show you your mistakes and some interesting cool plans and setups that you can use in your games in the future. So the link will be below in the description. So check it, send it. I'm going to be very happy to receive those. So thanks for watching, and I hope everyone will have a cool day.